Welcome back to the Gentleman Ultras YouTube channel. I'm Richard Hall and it is Sunday and it is horrible where I am. It's raining and yeah, not that nice. But that doesn't mean that we can't still look at the papers today. Gazzetta dello Sport focusing very much on the Azzurri at this moment in time, saying the Azzurri are all fired up, ready to go in Sofia. Talks that Mancini will actually start Belotti for this game, saying there's going to be quite a few changes against Bulgaria, somewhere where they've apparently never won. And it says here that we need to attack more and control less, which makes sense because we've seen the Azzurri have quite a bit of possession, but it's been a bit redundant at times. So that's certainly the main talking point in Gazzetta about the Azzurri, of course. And it also is in Corriere dello Sport, where it talks about Federico Chiesa and Lorenzo Insigne being the best of friends, and both saying that they're the two who now will help the Azzurri to try and move closer to Qatar, as Ace will start alongside either side Belotti, which would be quite interesting because that does seem like quite a potent front three, should we say. So Mancini will have changes there all the way through, but it is that front three that looks though it would be the one that can diversify them a bit and hopefully grab a result in Sofia. Also focuses here on the Ronaldo Fury, which many will have seen if you watched the Portugal game. His Phantom Gold United with Portugal, and he obviously walks off the pitch there and threw his armband into the ground. Not looking good for there, but obviously Juventus fans could be quite pleased about that if there is some sort of break with him in Portugal. To obviously get the best out of him. Excuse me. A lot talks about the under-21s, the siege of Spain, if you would, as it's been referred to in Corriere dello Sport. The under-21s only just survived there. That was a game that caused much controversy. Of course, it was a valuable draw, but another 2 red cards, and seriously, there's a lot to talk about that in that game. If you go further into it, it goes quite in depth about that in the sense of the controversy over the red cards, the controversy over the officiating, and VAR coming up again. We talked about it yesterday very briefly, but Dybala, there's 2 months apparently for his future with Juventus to be decided. Obviously, we know that Andrea Pirlo is under a lot of pressure at the moment, but it's definitely something that will be talked about more and more about just his role in this, what his role in the Juventus squad will be. Suggestions here that if he can perform well, it may make Juventus think that the departure of Cristiano Ronaldo may be possible, even though we saw, I think 2 or 3 days ago, blanket headlines that the Agnellis were certainly not considering that. Finally, really, we're talking about the stadiums not just the stadium, sorry, the TV rights. Talking the DAZN, they're obviously capture of the Italian football rights, very, very helpful at the moment for Italian football. They're saying there's going to be not so much in the streaming process, much done in the studio effects, but much more around the stadium effects, and it's going to be a much crisper, better product. So it's all good for Italian football because it's better than, as we said yesterday, to market to the outside world. So I think that will be a huge win in some respects for Italian football, because the marketing product will be better to be able to play out to the US market, for instance, the British market, etc., etc. Much crisper product, as we said. Here we've got one as well in Tutto Sport with Galliani, obviously of Monza now, saying that he thought he was going to die, and talks about his COVID nightmare, which is not a very nice story actually. It's quite heartfelt from a man who does divide opinion. And it was one that sort of resonates a little bit, because it's, in all of this we have these ideas of people, and especially Berlusconi and Galliani don't always hold the nicest of notes for many people, but it's a sad one there, and obviously very, very a humanised story, should we say. And then finally in Tutto Sport, we just get a little idea of what they think the Juventus transfer policy will be when it comes to the summer. They're talking about that it all rotates what I was talking about before about Dybala, saying that Icardi, which would be very, very interesting and really would divide some opinions. I think a lot of Inter fans would be relishing the fact of not liking Icardi anymore, but they're saying Icardi, Dembele, Isco and Gabriel Jesus, all possible options for exchanges with Dybala. So that's interesting. I think that Dybala will be the one that's going to really, really rock the summer, if you would, because he's certainly someone who looks like he could be on his way. And you've got to remember as well, Dybala is a fantastic talent. I think that you can talk about consistency perhaps, but I think that Juventus, in a sense, it's unfortunate for them, because if Ronaldo hadn't have arrived in Turin, I think that Dybala may have blossomed into a talent that much more than he has already. But that's where we are. So it would be interesting to see just what happened this summer. So finally, very finally now, we talked to you yesterday about Muriel for Atalanta coming to Inter. That's headed up in the Gazzetta dello Sport. A couple of pages in, talks about the fact that the Nerazzurri are very much like the Colombian, and it seems to be their number one priority in the summer. So that'll be interesting as well. Okay, that's the papers. Ciao for now.